Hi guys, how are you? It's Hope Canadian on the day of life of a Bronx realtor. I know this looks kind of empty over here. We changed to Better Homes and Garden Rent Realty, so I'm waiting for my new sign, so I will put my new sign there. But I did a short video on transfer taxes, and I had to go to like a meeting or something, so I had to cut it short, so I had to just put part one, and it's on YouTube, right? And so I wanted to do the second part of the transfer taxes. Okay, you know, when you sell a home, the seller pays for transfer taxes, right? And a lot of realtors think they know, but then sometimes there's a difference, right? Because if you go over 500 and then there's a seller's concession, there's different things you need to know. It could make or break a deal, or your seller or buyer will be mad at you, you know, what they find out later. So, okay, so New York State, okay, for every $4 is $1,000. Okay, so let's do this. A house is for $50,000, right? So for some reason I divide it by 500 times it by 2, but it's the same thing. So you could divide it by 1,000 equals 450. Obviously, times 2 equals 900, right? Now for the city, okay, there's two different ones, okay? Under 500, it's 1%, so that's 4,500, right? Then over 500, it is 1.425%. Now, that's a big difference. I mean, that's almost 50% higher, right? So we're talking about almost 20 something hundred more, right? So if I do 500 times 1.425 equals 7125. Now, if it was under 500 or 500, I think it's 500 or less. So imagine if it was 500, it would be 1%, 5,000, as opposed to 7125. That's a big difference. Okay, so now different counties are different. I'm not going to go over a whole bunch of counties because we don't really deal with them, but Mount Vernon, on the first 100,000, okay, it's nothing. After that, it's 1%, okay? Yonkers, which is very popular, 1.5%. So that's a lot. That's on any number. Okay, Peekskill is 1%. And I got this here from Stephen Cologne upstairs. There's like a whole list of different things here because he did a whole thing on capital gains and different, you know, so forth. So I knew the transfer tax amount, okay? But for instance, I didn't know that the mansion tax was 1% on any purchase, resident, when purchasing price of $1 million. Now I did look that up because I just sold a mini mansion, right? And I did read that, but I didn't know that before. But because it was, you know, not sold for $1 million, then okay. So you need to know these things, right? Because let's say you make an offer of $495 and you have a seller's concession. You know, a seller's concession is when the seller concesses that you can put in the closing cost or part of it in the loan, okay? So if now the loan becomes, you know, 515, 510, 520, now the owner, the seller, transfer taxes just shot through the roof, okay? And they're not responsible, okay, for paying for that extra transfer taxes, okay? So you gotta be very careful because you gotta make sure you have that extra $2,000-3,000 now because you went over that 500 mark. Okay, very, very important. And the same thing goes to if it's underneath 500, if the transfer taxes is like $700 extra because of your seller's concession, the buyer is responsible. Now, I'm not saying that the seller won't ever pay for it, okay? Anything is possible, Okay, but most sellers will not, and most attorneys would advise them not to, and the realtors would advise them not to, and the buyer's agent's gonna advise the buyer that they're responsible. So most of the time, they don't ask the owner. Okay, and when you're dealing with new construction, the buyer pays for the transfer taxes. Okay, and when you're buying REO foreclosure, the buyer pays for the transfer taxes. Okay, so I just wanted to go over that. Okay, and of course, if the contract states that the transfer taxes need to be paid from the buyer, it's not like it's embedded a must and it's the law or it's against the law. It's just that that's the way it's done. For what I know, because if you put in a contract that the buyer has to pay it and they agree, then it's okay. But that's not the norm. Okay, it's just new construction and REOs pretty much that the buyer pays unless the contract states it. So I hope that you have a little clear on transfer taxes and just don't take for granted, oh, your transfer taxes. No, make sure you know the difference. Under 500, over 500. If there's a seller's concession, the buyer's responsible. You got to make sure that your buyer has everything and all those costs. Especially if you have a seller's concession, they're kind of short for money. So you know, if you go over 500, we're talking about 2,000, 2,500. It depends how over 500. Okay, so I hope this helped you. All right, bye.